Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to talk about what made me really tired of this E90 BMW. I know you guys asked for E90 content, so here it is. What you're looking at is a 3.08 differential from an early 2000 335i. It's got the right ratio. If your car is manual, it's a bigger housing, and it can be swapped to an LSD because it has a bolted ring gear. So if you're new to my channel, I've done a lot of things to this car, including converting the stock automatic small case differential to a limited slip differential. I converted the car to manual, at which time I should have put in this larger pumpkin 3.08 gear ratio. Car's a little dirty at the moment, just been using it for running around, but as you can see, it's manual. If you go back on my channel and find the content where I'm converting this to an LSD, at that time it was an automatic. One thing that's kind of become a drag is how high the RPMs are when you're driving on the highway, or just how high strung it is under regular use. It's not enjoyable to drive as a manual unless you're really pushing it. If I had to be completely honest, I've been driving this as a manual just regularly to enjoy it as a manual for what it's worth, meaning I would like it to have a laid back attitude when you're not pushing things. So that's where the conversion back to 3.08 gears comes into play. I've never had these gear ratios in my car, but they're meant for a manual, and this housing is a lot bigger so that when we convert it to an LSD, it's going to be a lot stronger. Another cause for concern would be the fact that I'm using the automatic drive shaft, which is shorter because the diff is smaller, so therefore it hasn't been splined as far, and this is a lot smaller on the automatic. That diameter is smaller, meaning that if I really pushed the car, I could have potentially broken that or broken the differential. I didn't get the axles, but I can always convert to those when I swap this to a limited slip internally, and the automatic axles will work, and they're very similar in diameter. It's usually not a big deal. But what I'd like to do is get this car jacked up, get that differential swapped out, including replacing the drive shaft, so that this car will be a little bit more enjoyable to drive. So let's get started. A lot of you guys were looking for an update on this differential, so let's start by just jacking it up, leaving one wheel on the ground and seeing if there's still a good load on the other wheel, if it's actually causing it to be somewhat of a limited slip diff. So here's the situation: one wheel touching the ground, one wheel elevated, the e-brake is down, and the car is in neutral. So there's a load on this, less than when it was new, but it's still present. I'm gonna try it the other way around. So there's a load there, but I'm not sure if it's a really heavy load or not, and how easily it would normally be to slip if you just break this in after initial installation. So we'll put both wheels up in the air now and see if they both spin equally. All right, now I'm gonna go spin the other wheel and see what happens. All right, I'm going forwards, backwards. So still functioning like an LSD. I would say that it's a little bit looser than when I first put it in, but I wasn't able to feel that while driving, because it feels like when you load this thing up going straight, it does its job. The centrifugal force, or whatever you want to call it, pushes out on the plates and makes it actually grip. And I would say that when you're cornering and you're trying to power through a turn, that's where this thing could disappoint potentially as an LSD conversion. It's all about having equal load and the car going straight. That's where it seems to really hook up. Regardless, if we're gonna build the other differential, the bigger differential, we're gonna go with a real full LSD conversion. To start with, I'm gonna have to remove the exhaust. So I'm taking off these bolts at the downpipe. Next up, I'm just going to take this whole piece off together. So we'll undo it from here. Next up, this plate's going to have to come out. So next up, we have these 18 mils right here. That's an E10. Over here, we're going to want to disconnect this vacuum line first. I just put something underneath there to help catch the exhaust as I lower it. There's a couple 13s over here. I'm gonna pull out the heat shields now. I'm going after the center support bearing. These are 13s. Front bolts on the Guibo were 18s. So what I've done here is I've actually used the automatic drive shaft, which is thinner and smaller, and I just left it a little bit short so that in this boot area here, it was actually making up the gap. And I did that just because the other differential was smaller and it had to be stretched out a little bit to reach. You know, that's something that could potentially break or be a failure point. This joint is smaller, all of this is weaker. And that's one of the reasons why I want to do this change out anyway. So she'll be able to just pull this out, pull that out. So because that differential was smaller, this had to reach further back, so therefore it had to be less inserted into these splines, and these splines are smaller. If you notice, that's shorter, that's the diameter of that one, and that's the diameter of that one. So I installed this differential brace, which I won't be able to use, unfortunately. I'll get another one for the larger differential, but I'm gonna unbolt this and just leave this part on the diff. All right, now I'll go after the drive shaft bolts. So here's a look at the two differentials. This is obviously a lot bigger and heavier duty, even though the spacing is the same and the flange sizes are the same. Now, if I were to try to turn this, if I were to turn it, they would turn together, but even just with the slightest bit of resistance, you get the spider gear spinning and it's an open diff. Now this one, it spins independently and it's impossible to make anything happen by hand here. So this is still locking up like the way I remember it, at least, you know, off the car. So, you know, that was my little LSD conversion that I made a video on a while back. It's kind of like a phantom grip, but better. Anyway, let's get this in the car now. All right, there's the drive shaft put back together. We're gonna finish up by putting the exhaust and heat shields and everything back on. All right, I'm gonna take the car for a test drive now. It's gonna be the first time I've felt it as a manual with a regular differential. So I'm excited to see how it feels, and we'll go for a drive and I'll give you my impression. I can already tell you that it feels a lot more natural and definitely way better to have this 3.08 gearing on a manual. And I gotta be honest, you guys have been asking me for content on this car. I think the only way to keep it relevant is to maybe make it a single turbo. So right now, just for the sake of being able to get gas easily and just to take it easy on the car, I've actually just been running it on a stock tune, but I still drive it plenty often. I do enjoy rolling gears every once in a while. But actually what I enjoy the most about this car is just the way it drives stock. In my opinion, this car is not really set up. The chassis doesn't seem to like love the power. You guys all know how hard these things are to get off the line. It became very apparent when I started pushing the M3, just the difference of a well-sorted car in terms of being able to put down around 500 wheel horsepower. And then when I get back in this and try to push it, it just kind of feels like I'm hurting the car. But then I was driving it so often that I found that the gearing was annoying. So now it feels really good. I'm liking it. I'm in fourth gear at like 1500 RPM at 35 miles per hour. This just feels right. So I have to get an LSD conversion, of course. I'm gonna just retrofit a proper LSD. If you guys are thinking of putting the 3.46 gears in your manual car, I'm going to advise you against it. I don't think it's worth it. It doesn't lead to very much more acceleration. Really, you're just shifting the gearing around and you're shifting more often. I can't justify having a manual car as a daily anymore, but I do enjoy driving manual. I purposely didn't buy a G80 M3 in manual because I know they didn't make a bespoke manual for that car. Maybe a controversial thing to say, but it's really just a carryover from the B58 cars. So I figured, you know what, the way to go on that is the competition with the automatic. I'm gonna jump on the highway before I conclude this video and let you know how I feel at highway speeds, and then we'll conclude. "60 miles an hour, I'm turning 2100 RPM. That is so much better. It used to be over 3,000. So that'll conclude this video. If it's the first video you're catching of mine, please consider subscribing. If you liked it, please give it a like so it'll rank higher. Thanks for watching.